There's a lie you've been fed your entire life. A beautiful, comforting lie that sounds like wisdom. Play fair, be honest. Treat others how you want to be treated. Do the right thing and good things will come. It's the foundation of every children's story, every motivational speech, every piece of advice from people who smile while they lose. And if you still believe it, you're already behind. Because while you're playing fair, someone else is playing to win. And Machiavelli understood something that most people will die never knowing. Fairness is a weapon used against you by those who have no intention of being fair themselves. The game of power has never been fair. Not once, not ever. And the moment you decide to play by the rules, you've already agreed to let others break them at your expense. This isn't cynicism. This is reality. And reality doesn't reward the fair. It rewards the strategic. Let me be clear. Playing fair doesn't make you moral. It makes you predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate, easy to use, easy to defeat. Because when someone knows you'll always take the high road, they'll push you off it every single time. Machiavelli saw this in the courts of Renaissance Italy. He watched noble men with pure intentions get crushed by ruthless operators who smiled to their faces and stabbed them in the back. And he wrote it down, not to celebrate cruelty, but to warn you. If you want power, if you want control, if you want to actually win, you cannot afford to be the only one playing fair, because fairness is a social contract. And the second one person breaks it, everyone still following it becomes a victim. Think about your own life. How many times have you been honest when others lied? How many times have you kept your word when others broke theirs? How many times have you played by the rules while watching someone cheat their way to the top? And what did your fairness earn you? Respect, maybe? Power? Never. Because respect without power is just a pretty way of saying you're harmless. Machiavelli would tell you this. The world doesn't give power to the deserving. It gives power to those willing to take it. And taking it rarely looks fair. It looks ruthless. It looks calculated. It looks like you're willing to do what others won't. Not because you're evil, but because you understand the game better than they do. Here's the brutal truth. Every system, every organization, every social circle, every relationship has unspoken rules. Rules about hierarchy, influence, control. And the people at the top didn't get there by following the stated rules. They got there by understanding the hidden ones. The rule that says perception matters more than reality. The rule that says loyalty is a tool, not a virtue. The rule that says you can break any rule as long as you don't get caught, or as long as you're powerful enough that it doesn't matter. The fair players never see these rules. They're too busy trying to be good, and that's why they stay at the bottom while the ruthless rise. Let's talk about business. You walk into a negotiation. You've done your research. You know what's fair. You're ready to offer a deal that benefits both sides. You're thinking win-win, and across the table sits someone who's thinking win. They smile, they nod, they agree with your points. Then they lowball you, they stall, they create artificial urgency. They use your fairness against you because they know you want to be reasonable. They know you'll compromise. They know you'll meet in the middle. And that middle, it's exactly where they wanted you from the start. You thought you were negotiating. You were being managed. And the fair player always ends up giving more than they get because fairness assumes good faith. And good faith is the first thing ruthless people exploit. Meanwhile, the ruthless negotiator came prepared with a completely different strategy. They researched your weaknesses, they know your deadlines, they understand your pressure points, and they'll use every single one without hesitation. They'll make you feel like you're getting a fair deal while they walk away with everything they wanted. They'll thank you for your reasonableness while counting their winnings. And you'll leave the room thinking you did well, because at least it felt fair. But fair isn't the same as winning. Fair is what losers tell themselves to feel better about losing. Machiavelli said it plainly. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. And here's why. Love is conditional. It requires you to keep pleasing people. It requires you to stay likable, agreeable, soft. Fear, on the other hand, requires only that you demonstrate consequence. And consequence doesn't need to be fair. It just needs to be real. When people fear you, they calculate their moves around you. When people love you, they assume you'll forgive them. Forgiveness is noble, but it's also the reason people keep disrespecting you, because they know you'll play fair even when they don't. Let's go to the social arena. You're in a group. Someone takes credit for your idea. Someone undermines you subtly in front of others. Someone spreads a rumor. What does the fair player do? They address it privately. They try to clear things up. They believe in honest communication. And what happens? Nothing. Or worse, they look weak. Because the person who played dirty isn't playing by your rules. They don't care about fairness. They care about status. And while you're trying to resolve things diplomatically, they're busy positioning themselves as the dominant force. They're loud, they're confident, they're unapologetic, and the group doesn't reward your quiet fairness. They reward visible power. So the manipulator wins again, and you're left wondering why being good never seems to work. Here's what the fair player doesn't understand. Social dynamics aren't about justice, they're about dominance. The person who controls the narrative controls the group. The person who shapes perception shapes reality. And fairness doesn't shape anything. It just reacts. It waits, it hopes. And hope is not a strategy, it's a prayer. And prayers don't win power games. Action does. Swift, calculated, sometimes brutal action that doesn't wait for permission or fairness to align. The ruthless player doesn't hope people see the truth. They create the truth people see. And by the time the fair player realizes what happened, the game is already over. Here's the key. Playing fair only works when everyone else is playing fair. But the moment someone breaks that contract, you have two choices. Keep playing fair and lose, or adapt and survive. Machiavelli wasn't telling you to be evil. He was telling you to be awake, to see the game as it actually is, not as you wish it were. Because wishing doesn't change the rules. It just makes you easier to defeat. And the people who rise to power, they're not the nicest. They're not the most honest. They're the ones who understood that power is taken, not given. And taking it means being willing to bend, break, or outright ignore the rules when necessary. Now here's where people get confused. They think Machiavellian means being a villain. It doesn't. It means being effective. It means understanding that morality and strategy are not the same thing. You can be a good person in your private life, but in the arena of power, in business, in politics, in social dynamics, goodness is a liability unless it's backed by strength. Because without strength, your goodness just makes you a target. People will use your kindness. They'll exploit your honesty. They'll take advantage of your fairness. Not because they're all evil, but because they're playing a different game. A game where winning matters more than how you win. Let's get tactical. Someone lies about you. The fair response is to tell the truth and hope people see through the lie. The Machiavellian response is to control the narrative before the truth even matters. You don't defend. You attack the credibility of the source. You make the lie look like desperation. You frame the accuser as unstable, jealous, threatened. Is it fair? No. Is it effective? Absolutely. Because in the court of public opinion, the first person to shape perception wins. And if you're waiting for fairness to reveal itself, you've already lost the crowd. They don't care about truth. They care about the story. And the best storyteller controls the power. Someone takes credit for your work. The fair move is to privately correct the record. The Machiavellian move is to publicly position yourself as the source of all future value so that the credit stealer becomes irrelevant. You don't fight for past credit. You make it impossible for them to steal future credit. You build a reputation so strong that people instinctively know who the real creator is. And when the thief tries it again, the room already doubts them. You didn't play fair, you played smart. And smart always beats fair in the long game. Here's another level. Playing fair makes you reactive. You wait for others to act, then you respond with fairness. But power is proactive. It doesn't wait. It moves first. It shapes the battlefield. It controls the options available to others. Machiavelli understood this. He said the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Meaning, if you wait until fairness forces your hand, you've already lost time, momentum, and control. The ruthless player doesn't wait for fairness. He creates conditions where fairness works in his favor or where it's irrelevant entirely. He doesn't ask permission. He doesn't wait for consensus. He acts. And by the time the fair players realize what's happening, it's already done. Let me give you a darker truth. People respect fairness in theory, but they follow power in practice. You can be the fairest person in the room, but if you have no leverage, no influence, no ability to reward or punish, your fairness means nothing. People will smile at you. They'll call you a good person. Then they'll ignore you when decisions are made, because decisions are made by those with power. And power isn't fair. It's concentrated. It's guarded. It's used strategically. The fair player believes power should be distributed justly. The Machiavellian knows power is seized by those bold enough to take it and smart enough to keep it. Think about leaders you've known. The ones people actually followed weren't always the nicest. They were the ones who made things happen. The ones who took risks. The ones who bent rules when necessary. The ones who protected their people fiercely, even if it meant being unfair to outsiders. Machiavelli said, "A prince must learn how not to be good. Not because goodness is weakness, but because rigid goodness makes you unable to act when action is necessary. Sometimes you have to lie to protect your position. Sometimes you have to betray someone before they betray you. Sometimes you have to be unfair to survive. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. It means you still have a conscience. But don't let that conscience make you powerless. Here's where it gets surgical. The most dangerous thing about playing fair is that it makes you visible. When you always do the right thing, people can predict your moves. They know your patterns. They know your limits. They know exactly how to manipulate you because you've shown them your code. You've told them your boundaries. You've revealed your weaknesses by being too honest about your values. The Machiavellian player never reveals his full strategy. He keeps people guessing. He's fair sometimes, ruthless other times, generous when it serves him, cold when necessary. This unpredictability is power because no one can plan around you. No one can exploit you. No one can box you into a corner using your own morality against you. Here's the paradox. The people who scream the loudest about fairness are often the ones who benefit from your fairness while playing dirty themselves. They'll demand transparency from you while hiding their own moves. They'll demand honesty from you while spinning their own narratives. They'll demand you follow the rules while they break them behind the scenes. And if you call them out, they'll accuse you of being cynical, paranoid, or unfair. This is the ultimate manipulation, making you believe that questioning fairness makes you the bad guy. Machiavelli saw through this. He knew that those who weaponize morality are often the least moral. They use your decency as a leash. And the moment you realize this, you have a choice. Stay leashed or break free. Breaking free doesn't mean becoming a monster. It means becoming strategic. It means asking yourself, does this fairness serve me or does it serve someone else's agenda? Does this honesty protect me or does it expose me? Does this rule benefit me or does it keep me in place? And if the answer is the latter, you adapt. Not because you're evil, but because you're awake. You're no longer playing the game others designed to keep you weak. You're playing your own game. And in your game, fairness is a tool, not a religion. You use it when it serves you. You discard it when it doesn't, and you never ever let someone else's moral posturing control your decisions. Let's talk about relationships. Playing fair in relationships sounds noble. Equal effort, equal honesty, equal investment. But here's what happens. The person who invests less has more power because they're less attached. They have less to lose. They can walk away easier. So the fair player gives and gives, believing reciprocity will balance things out. But it doesn't. The other person just takes. And the fair player stays, hoping fairness will eventually win. It won't, because emotional fairness only works when both people value it equally. And most people don't. They value their own needs first. Machiavelli would tell you, in love as in war, never show your full hand. Never invest so fairly that you lose leverage, because the moment you're fully committed and they're not, they own you, and ownership isn't love, it's control. The same applies to friendships, partnerships, alliances. Fairness makes you reliable. Reliability makes you useful. Usefulness makes you disposable. Because once they know you'll always be fair, always be there, always play your role, they stop valuing you. They start expecting you, and expectation without fear of loss is entitlement. The Machiavellian never lets people take them for granted. He's fair enough to be trusted, but unpredictable enough to be respected. He gives, but not always. He's loyal, but not blindly. He plays fair, but only when the other side earns it. In the moment they don't, he adjusts, swiftly, coldly, strategically. Here's the ultimate move. Use fairness as a mask. Be publicly fair. Be visibly moral. Be the person everyone thinks is playing by the rules. But privately, behind the scenes, play to win. Make strategic moves others won't see coming because they assume you're too fair to be ruthless. This is the highest level of Machiavellian power. You're not obviously cutthroat. You're not visibly manipulative. You're just somehow always winning, and people can't figure out why. It's because you understand the game they refuse to see. You're playing fair on the surface while playing smart underneath. And by the time they realize you're already untouchable. Machiavelli himself lived this. He served the Medici family, one of the most ruthless political dynasties in history. He watched them smile, shake hands, make promises. Then he watched them destroy rivals, manipulate elections, and consolidate power through any means necessary. And they stayed in power for centuries, not because they were fair, because they were effective. And effectiveness requires flexibility. It requires being willing to be unfair when fairness puts you at risk. This doesn't make you immoral. It makes you a realist. And realists survive. Idealists become cautionary tales. Let's go deeper into why this matters now. In the modern world, fairness has become a performance. People don't actually want fairness. They want the appearance of fairness while they maneuver for advantage. Social media is full of people demanding fairness while they subtly manipulate their image. Corporations talk about fair practices while they exploit every loophole. Politicians campaign on fairness while they take money from whoever offers it. The game hasn't changed, only the costume has. And if you're the only one actually trying to be fair, you're not noble. You're naive. You're the mark. You're the person everyone else uses to feel better about their own manipulation. Here's what separates the powerful from the powerless. The powerful understand that fairness is contextual. They're fair when it costs them nothing. They're fair when it builds their reputation. They're fair when the audience is watching. But when real stakes are on the table, when power is up for grabs, when survival is threatened, fairness disappears. And it should. Because power doesn't recognize fairness. It recognizes strength. It recognizes will. It recognizes who's willing to do what others won't. And the person still worried about being fair in those moments has already lost. Think about the last time you saw someone powerful apologize. Really apologize. Not a strategic apology designed to end controversy. A real admission of wrongdoing with consequences. You probably can't remember one, because powerful people don't apologize unless forced. They don't admit mistakes unless it serves them. They don't play fair unless fairness is their weapon. They understand something the fair player doesn't. Admitting fault is giving away power. And power, once given away, rarely comes back. So they deny, they deflect. They attack, they reframe. They do whatever keeps them in control. Is it fair? Never. Is it effective? Always. Here's something most people never consider. Fairness creates dependencies. When you're always fair, people start depending on your fairness. They build their strategies around it. They plan their moves knowing you won't retaliate unfairly. They push boundaries knowing you'll stay reasonable. And suddenly you're trapped. Trapped by your own consistency. Trapped by your own predictability. Trapped by a reputation that now controls you more than you control it. The Machiavellian avoids this trap entirely. He's sometimes fair, sometimes not. And the unpredictability keeps everyone alert, keeps everyone cautious, keeps everyone from getting too comfortable. Because comfortable people take advantage. Uncertain people show respect. Let's address the elephant in the room. Some of you are thinking, but if everyone played unfairly, society would collapse. And you're right. But here's what you're missing. Society depends on most people playing fair. It depends on masses of people following rules, trusting systems, believing in fairness. That's what keeps things stable. But power doesn't come from being part of the mass. It comes from being the exception. The person who understands that while society needs fairness to function, individuals need strategy to rise. You're not destroying the system by playing unfairly. You're using the system's dependence on fairness as your competitive advantage. Because while everyone else is worried about being fair, you're worried about winning. And in any competitive environment, that focus makes all the difference. Think about historical figures who changed the world. How many of them played fair? Alexander the Great conquered half the known world through strategic brutality. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon and broke every rule to seize power. Napoleon rewrote the laws of an entire continent. Steve Jobs built Apple by stealing ideas and outmaneuvering competitors. Elon Musk breaks regulations and norms constantly to push his companies forward. These aren't endorsements of their morality. They're observations of their effectiveness. They understood that changing the world requires breaking the rules everyone else follows. Fairness maintains the status quo. Unfairness creates empires. Here's a test. Think about your current position in life. Your job, your relationships, your social standing, your financial situation. Now ask yourself honestly, how much of where you are is because you played fair? And how much of where you aren't is because others didn't? The fair player blames circumstances. The Machiavellian recognizes that circumstances are created by those willing to be unfair. That promotion you didn't get, someone else played politics while you played fair. That relationship that ended, someone else valued their needs over fairness. That opportunity you missed, someone else moved faster and cared less about stepping on toes. You can be angry about it. You can call it unjust, or you can learn from it and adapt. Let's go even deeper. Fairness is exhausting. It requires constant self-monitoring, constant checking of your behavior against moral standards, constant worry about whether you're doing the right thing, and for what. So people can call you a good person while they pass you on their way to the top. The Machiavellian sleeps better, not because he has no conscience, but because he's made peace with reality. He knows that power games have different rules than moral philosophy. He knows that winning doesn't require being perfect. It requires being effective. And that clarity, that acceptance of reality as it is rather than as it should be, that's liberating. Because once you stop fighting against the nature of power, you can start using it. Here's the coldest truth of all. The people who benefit most from your fairness will never thank you for it. They'll just expect more of it. They'll demand it. They'll guilt you when you finally stop giving it, because your fairness serves them. It makes their lives easier. It makes their manipulation simpler. And the moment you stop being predictably fair, they'll call you changed. They'll say you've lost your way. They'll accuse you of becoming what you're not. But what they really mean is you've stopped being useful to them. You've stopped being controllable. You've stopped playing the role that benefited them at your expense. And that's when you know you're finally free. So what does this mean for you? Stop waiting for fairness to save you. Stop believing that if you just play by the rules long enough, things will work out. They won't, not unless you make them. Start seeing power for what it is, a game. A game where the rules are made by winners and enforced on losers. A game where perception matters more than truth. A game where leverage beats fairness every single time. And once you see the game clearly, you can decide, do I keep losing fairly or do I start winning unfairly? Because those are your options. There's no third path. There's no magical middle ground where you're both perfectly fair and wildly successful. That's a fantasy. And fantasies don't build empires. Playing fair is the fastest way to lose power because it assumes everyone else is playing the same game. But they're not. They're playing to win. And winning doesn't require fairness. It requires vision, timing, ruthlessness, and the ability to act without guilt when action is necessary. Machiavelli knew this. Every powerful person in history knew this. And now you know it too. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you keep being the fair player everyone walks over? Or will you become the strategic player everyone fears to cross? Because the world doesn't change for the fair. It bends for the powerful. And power has never ever been fair. The choice is yours. But understand this. Every day you spend playing fair while others play to win is a day you fall further behind. Every compromise you make in the name of fairness is ground you give up that you'll never get back. Every time you choose the high road while someone else takes the shortcut, you're not being noble. You're being strategic about losing. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, is my fairness getting me what I want? Is my morality building the life I desire? Is playing by the rules actually working? And if the answer is no, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to learn what Machiavelli was really trying to teach. That power doesn't come to those who deserve it. It comes to those who take it. And taking it has never been fair.